or even more than 2 decades of association with you as well. Many of the faces are the same as I used to see 20 years before. A bit grown up, but still we are friends. Your Excellency the Ambassador, you have spoken everything that I had to speak. And you have spoken from your heart. Thank you very much for shedding light on the opportunities, the prospects that we can share. Not only for the prosperity of Nepal, but also for the prosperity of India, because we trust in mutual benefit. And I personally believe that gone are the days of begging thy neighbor. We should think of richer thy neighbor, and if we become richer each other, perhaps we can have better regional harmony and also a peaceful society to live in. So I think it is in the interest of both the countries to grow and to become more prosperous, so that we don't have to catch people cross-border smuggling goods or doing some unlawful things. Prosperity would minimize or completely restrict those kind of activities across border, which has been our key challenge for people who do want to establish and maintain peace and security at the border side. The bilateral cooperation between India and Nepal, I think it has already been spelled out in different areas, including, of course, trade, industry, connectivity, and people-to-people relation. That would be, I would say, intensified through tourism, which is it's not only an income earning opportunity, but it's an exchange of cultures, exchange of experiences, and a kind of fraternity between countries. So the next visit Nepal year 2020 should immensely benefit from the middle income Indian tourists visiting Nepal and visiting Mansarovar through Nepal as well. Let me just respond to some of the points raised by the immediate past president on the issue of industrial policy, Industrial Enterprise Act, Foreign Investment and Technology Transfer Act, its regulation, repatriation issues, and tax treatment and tax procedures. It took us a while to really translate our industrial policy into Industrial Enterprise Act, and in the same way the Foreign Investment and Technology Transfer Policy to its Act. The acts are passed by the Parliament. The bylaws are ready to be approved by the Cabinet. They are now becoming agenda of the next Cabinet. So we'll do the bylaws very soon. Unlike in the past when laws were made and the bylaws were not made for another 2 years. We have been late, but within a month we'll be having bylaws for both of them. That would also include some other initiative, including the Intellectual Property Act, which you have very rightly pointed out. We have been discussing about Copyright Act. It is under Cabinet. The Copyright Act takes care of several of the issues related to intellectual property. But when it comes to intangible property, perhaps we need to have the IP Act ready for the companies to come with their own business secrets, their own patents, designs, or everything included. The draft for the same is ready, and we'll consult with the private sector to improve the IP Act during its draft stage. The repatriation of the profits and then the proceeds of the foreign investment. I do want to recall that we now have the one-stop service under the Ministry of Industry. It has started working. It has been a few months that we have started working. It might not be a full-fledged office, but many of the repatriations have started from the single office, which is based in Tripureshwar. Our responsibility then would be to see that the higher threshold is provided as authority to the one-stop service providers to ease repatriation. and also to make the things faster when it comes to repatriation, and that applies to company registration, regulation, and everything. So I do think that the repatriation issue would be simplified as we strengthen the one-stop service. The types of FDI we can discuss on it. Take for example, when we are talking about contract manufacturing, we can think about it, how it can be working. We only, as everybody might think about, is the worry is about the arbitrage between different tax systems, between different foreign exchange systems, and between different law and other systems, legal, labor and other systems. If that's not the case, then we can think about all kinds of FDI that includes contract manufacturing. On the tax holidays, I have to think about it because I am not prepared to readily answer this question, but there is a logic in your point that if you are incurring loss, that must be allowed to carry forward. But let me think about it. What kind of industry are we talking when even in 10 years we don't make money? I find that many of the hotels are making money in 3, 4, 5 years' time. Is it the taxation issue or is it the management issue? Some of the companies not doing well because they cannot properly manage doesn't mean that there is a problem in the tax system. So we have to think both ways. If most of the industries are making good money and the 10 years tax holidays are enough, and if there is a single case that they cannot make money, I think there should be also some part in the management side of the industry itself. I am not questioning this, but we have to look at both ends of the same, because efficiency and business orientation of companies is equally important. On the social security tax, I have taken note of it. I think some of it has already been addressed, and there are some more issues about rebate on the tax for the money deposited with the Social Security Fund. We have been working on that, and there should not be overly taxed situation. The bank guarantee issue for any legal case to the court, and then the 25% cash deposit meant for the suers to the court. I think you have proposed for bank guarantee. I think this could be discussed further because what the government intends to do is not to encourage to defer tax payment. It's so simple story. Government wants also tax in real time, and in the name of any dispute, deferral of tax only means that government has to defer its development activities as well. So there should be some discouragement to just filing cases against any tax issue and then keeping them postponed for several years and making government losing money. That's the only case. But still, with the consultation of all the private sector colleagues, we have more simplified the case, and we would like to further work on that if that's the major issue on business entities. I would like to welcome the initiatives that you have been taking on India-focused investment summit. That's a good idea. The government of Nepal would be happy to join you and work with you to make this event a success. And as Your Excellency, the Ambassador, as you have very rightly pointed out, the first exit point to a domestic investor outside the country for Indian would be Nepal, and that would be the same case for Nepalese investing abroad. So looking into all our similarities, I think we can readily focus on investment coming from India. Some of the cases I think which relate to the business environment, and that also is related to the kind of enforcement of some of the global and national laws, and that includes AML CFT. We don't want to discourage or disappoint investors having enforced any law, But we are a party to some of the global treaties, laws, and global governance, on which we cannot be an exception. If we have to be part of the global economic system and global governance, we cannot remain as an exception. And what we have been doing is becoming part of the global governance process in financial governance. So on that, I think if there are hassles, if there are biased behaviors from some corner in the bureaucracy or in the government, that should not be the case. Otherwise, the simple laws which have been enforced are enforceable anyway. If any changes thereon could be made to simplify the process without necessarily undermining the global best practices on these laws, government would be ready to work with the private sector and to see that the existing laws only facilitate fair, transparent, and credible trade and investment rather than going through a very opaque system. The labor regulations, of course, we are ready to further think about it and see how it works. And finally, wealth creation. Wealth should be created for all. Creation of wealth for one at the cost of other doesn't make everybody wealthy. So let's create wealth, but also distribute it in such a way that at the same time we become wealthier. If not equal, but we should be growing in a more egalitarian and in a more equal society. That's the only way to raise our domestic demand, which is the critical factor to keep us growing. That's also at a time when the global economy is slowing down, when we have to look into our own market for the products we generate. So increasing the purchasing power of the citizens by wealth creation for all is a key challenge at the present day economic scenario. Thank you. Thank you very much.